in your the last video you put on YouTube, 5 years of Planetside, it's called. You had a pretty great spirit to it, and it really, if you go back and watch it, then you hear you talking as though it's like you just come out of a major conflict almost. Like you saw greener pastures ahead. You talked about how the dev team was doubling up to a unimaginable size of
This
six.
right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You talked about plans for then 2018, which was coming up, and you said that things were now in place so that the game could grow. I
Mhm.
wonder if you could talk about some of the things that happened leading up to that video that put you in that position. What was that team of three able to accomplish that moved the needle?
It's a good question. It was so long ago. Implants was definitely a big thing that we
Okay.
did, like completely reversed the financial trajectory of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and also just made the system better because it sucked. Uh, and that continues to be like something that helps sustain us financially. So like that is I'm downplaying it a little bit, but it was really really important. Um, and in doing so, like because of like that system and some of the other stuff that we're doing, like we were able to hire on 3 people,
Mm-hmm.
and like one of which was a UI programmer, which we didn't have.
Need that.
Actually, yeah, well, one of the other UI programmers was helping us with the implants implementation, but that was on temporary loan. So just
Mm-hmm.
clarify. Uh, yeah, and then we picked up another programmer. We picked up another designer, and like we were in good shape, at least, or so I thought.
Sure.
But
Sure.
as ambitions increase, and then also the ramp up time, it's like the ramp up time is pretty substantial for this for this game, and then just like especially the code base and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So the time it takes from
yeah,
from the day someone comes on, joins a team, to the time that they're really independent and able to get things
right.
done efficiently.
That's correct.
Right. Makes sense. Um, so for those who don't know, or who are listening to this and maybe don't know a lot about PlanetSide, the one of you out there, implants are each character has two implant slots in PlanetSide, and the way you acquire implants is a bit varied. It's a little complicated. It's one of the systems more complicated. One of the game's more complicated, I think, systems in some ways. Um, you can work towards some implants with ISO, right? And I think that major iteration you're describing included the introduction of ISO, if I'm
Hmm.
remembering that right.
Yep.
It's another currency alongside certifications, and there's some way to exchange certifications for ISO. There's some currency trading, not directly, but that you can do there. You can buy the same things with different currencies. But when you're buying an implant, you're not, unless you're using ISO, which is a slow to accumulate currency, which you can get for totally for free. Another way to get those is to buy them in what is essentially a loot box. And I'm sure that that's when you talk about the success, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Looking back at that system now, its success is hard to deny. There's a lot of talk going on in the world of gaming today about loot boxes being on the outs, about impending
Oh yeah.
regulation.
Yeah.
Um, are you guys paying attention to that stuff with regard to implants specifically and with future monetization efforts?
I would say paying attention to it. Yes. Um, and if the time comes that we need to pivot, in some way, I think we'll have to figure out a strategy for it. Um, because yeah, I mean it's a big deal. I mean, depending on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we kind of our community was very accepting, like unusually accepting of implants and a loot crate model. Uh, and I think that a lot of that came from the fact that the system was just so bad to begin with. Uh, like we got rid of energy, which was like it
Oh
was a
yeah.
mechanic to basically drain your wallet, or you don't get to perform it at peak capacity, and um, totally pivoted away from that. And it's just like, hey, now it's a progression system like everything else in the game. Um, and so that's probably where a lot of that goodwill came from. But then also, I was trying to to be straight with people like at every point where it's like yes, this is a monetization system. This is what we're putting into the game. And you'll be able to purchase these implants with your scummy loot box practices. So
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
right, yeah. My opinion on loot boxes is kind of it's a little back and forth. I think ideally there's cosmetics, right? But I don't think that it does nearly as much for a game that because people are just willing to pay for power. But one of the goals that I had personally was to make it so like you don't have to suffer through the loot box system. You can just buy the implants outright, and that's when crafting came into to be. And I think that happened maybe a year or a little bit less.
Oh wow,
Somebody can correct me if I'm
I don't
wrong.
remember it being that so far apart. Okay, so it was
Yeah, no,
pure
it was quite a while.
RNG for quite a while.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, and even now you can't buy exceptionals, but that'll be changing in the next update. Um,
Oh,
yeah, uh,
that's
surprise.
nice to know.
Yeah, just throwing that in there. And it's also making good on a promise that I made quite a while ago, where I definitely wanted it to come with Sanctuary, but it didn't make sense at the time. So
Sure, I'm really thrilled to hear that, Rel, because
yeah,
I think for people from the outside looking in, it's seeing how awesome Bastions are and seeing how cool Outfit Wars looks like. One of the things people will scan for right at the beginning is how much of this game is RNG, how much of this game is going to force me to waste my time, and even if the practical benefit you get from that RNG engagement is not that significant, or even if they really are edge case situations, just merely having that randomness, I think, is a risk for attracting new people. Probably, I know a lot of my friends will look at that and say, "Oh, this is a loot box for power. I'm not even going to engage at all." So having a
yeah.
way to say, "Nope, loot boxes are optional," is, I think, huge, and I'm relieved to hear that it's coming soon.
So I think it's kind of an interesting point of discussion because I think that the loot box system is probably I think it's obfuscated enough to where people won't say like immediately that something is pay to win unless that's kind of the concession that they're or the preconception that they're entering the game
A
with anyway.
bias.
Like
Hmm.
people, yeah, because like you'll get killed by something and it's like this guy has better gear than me, and probably not the case, or it is, but it doesn't matter. So it's probably just like a deeply held opinion that they have based on um, their experience or their skill level or whatever it is. Uh, but then also like we have made efforts to like standardize the play space, at least with one loadout. Like everybody has safeguard and everybody has target focus, which are both good implants for new
Hmm.
players.
Hmm.
Target focus I still use like on a bunch of stuff, uh, and then we also like started giving packs out for alert wins and for directives and everything else. So we didn't make it inaccessible.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think the people who kind of uh, like the community members who are a part of like have experience in those systems, they're kind of like advocates for like hey, like this is probably the only like pseudo pay to win thing about the game,
Hmm.
but it's not a big deal, and like that's kind of the place that you want to be
Mm.
for like you want the community to be at your back, regardless of what you're doing, and monetization practices.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
knocking at your door with pitchforks. They're giving you a nudge and like, "Hey, man, maybe take care of this." That kind of.
right, yeah, no, and that was definitely one of my goals is to kind of like remove the even the argument for the pay to win
Yes.
element. Yeah, like I don't think it's as big. Like I don't take it as seriously as
Okay.
other people. Like I know that other people will say like, hey, there's some RNG in this game, but sometimes like to me that feels good. Um,
Well,
but
yeah, it,
I
it goes
totally know
back
that's not the case for
to
everybody.
the whole idea of grinding, which
Right.
is the
Yeah.
kind of the
Mhm.
MMO spirit bubbling up from the
Yeah.
earth of Araxis.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's funny how people don't like they don't make that connection because it's not it doesn't tend to be like do this and then kind of like in the ranges of what you're going to get and then you get the thing,
mhm.
and then do that over and over. It's more like because it is a currency interaction, I think it feels different. Like it
Yeah.
feels more like, gambling, or it feels more like just like wasting money, I guess, when you throw stuff in and then don't get what you want.
Or
But if it's
certs